All right, we are now finally on the last video of the year. All right, so let's just start going through some of these questions. You'll see I have some of them highlighted. I believe there was a video out on this before. So if you look up similar triangles, I think it's section 20E, I think is what it is. I think a lot of these questions were already answered in that. All right, but let's just go ahead and answer some of them. So we're going to do number one. It says a 24-foot tall tree casts a shadow that's 12 feet long. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this tree first. Here it is 24 feet. And it has a shadow that is 12 feet long. So here's its shadow, 12 feet. All right, remember, these actually create a right angle with the sun's ray. Right? So here's this triangle, right angle triangle, that is going to be 24 and 12. Right, then it says Brad is 6 feet tall. How long is his shadow? Well, here's Brad. All right, we know that he is 6 feet. And here is his shadow. And once again, he creates a right angle triangle. This is 6, and this is X. And since these are right angle triangles, we know, and with the way that the sun shines, it's going to create two congruent angles here. We know that these triangles are similar. So what I can do now is I can then create a proportion. So 24, the height of the tree and the height of Brad, they can be written in the same fraction, and then they're equal to the shadow of the tree and the shadow of Brad. Right? Just make sure that you are staying consistent. Some of the mistakes I saw during tests on this early in the year is someone will put 24 over 6 and X over 12. They would do the height of the tree over the shadow with the shadow of Brad. Make sure you are being consistent. Right? That's all that you need to make sure you're doing. 24 over 6 reduces to 4 over 1, and this is equal to 12 over x. We then cross multiply, so 4x is equal to 12, divide by 4, and x is equal to 3. These you do need to write. There's no variable really for you to define. I guess if you define this variable as x is equal to the length of Brad's shadow, it'll be fine. But here we would say Brad's shadow is 3 feet long. Or actually the directions, I'll go back and change this on the final exam. The directions I'll put to define your variable. So whatever variable you put, you're going to define it. So remember, how long is Brad's shadow? So we would say x is the length of Brad's shadow. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, number 4 says a girl 160 centimeters tall stands 360 centimeters from a lamppost at night. Here's the girl, here's the lamppost. Or I'm sorry. She stands 360 centimeters from a lamppost. So this is how far she's standing from it. Their shadows overlap, which is this here, and it creates these two triangles. And this is going to be two similar triangles. I'm going to separate these. That's the girl's height. And that's the girl's shadow itself. So she's 160 centimeters and her shadow is 90. Here's the lamppost, which is what we're going to try and solve for. And the total lampost's shadow is both of these combined. That would be 450 centimeters. Some of the mistakes that people have made throughout the year is that you wouldn't add these together and you would only do 360. Well, that means her shadow just magically stops. Here, or the lamppost shadow just magically stops. It doesn't actually finish. It's not realistic, so make sure you're creating the triangles, right? So now we can go ahead, let's define this variable. X is the height of the lamppost, right? Then we're going to create our ratios, our proportions. So 160 corresponds with X. We'll do 160 over X is equal to 90 over 450. All right, so now let's go ahead and reduce this ratio. First, 90 goes into 455 times, so 160 over x is equal to 1 over 5. We cross multiply, and x is then equal to 800. So that will be 800, centimeters, I believe? Centimeters. All right, now if on any of these questions on your final exam you get like fractions, remember you can write your answer in any way, as a decimal, as an improper fraction, as a mixed number, would be your call. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, here it says triangles IJK and TUV are similar. Very key information they have to tell us. And this is the length and the sides of IJK are 40, 50, and 24. The length of TUV is 275. The longest side of TUV is 275. What is the perimeter of TUV? So there's a couple, you're going to learn a new way of doing this next year. I'm not going to show you this on the video, but there will be a way next year that when you do this, you're going to be kind of angry as to why we had to do all this work, because there is an easier way out there, but it's not something that we're learning this year. It's not part of our standards. And next year you'll go over it. But for now, the way that we have to solve this is first let's draw the two triangles. All right, we have IJK and we have TUV. They are similar as they tell us here, so I'm just writing them. Doesn't matter how you draw this, what size, where you label the IJK, but just since I and T are corresponding, they're similar, we should just write them in the same spot. All right, it gives me 3 measurements for IJK. Once again, it doesn't matter where you write these, so I'm just going to do 40, 50, and 24. They don't tell us what side is corresponding with which, and it really doesn't matter which one really because we're just solving for the perimeter. They tell us the longest side is 275, so I will put this in a very specific place. All right, I'm going to put 275 here because it corresponds with the longest of the other triangle. I'm then going to put M and S, and I will say M represents the middle length and middle length at the side of the middle length, and S represents the shortest side. All right, so what we're going to do now is we have to create these ratios to solve for what M and S is equal to. So the one ratio that we know we can create is this 50 and this 275 because they're both the longest side of each of those triangles, so they have to correspond. So I'm going to write 50 over 275. I'm going to solve for my M first, and M corresponds with 40. So it'll be 40 over M. All right, just make sure you're putting the same triangles in the same positions. I am going to reduce this now. 50 over 275 reduces to 25 goes into this twice. 25 goes into this 11 times. And then we go ahead and we cross multiply. So this will then give me 2n is equal to 440. We divide by 2, and m is equal to 220. So up here, instead of this m, I'm just going to write 220 because I'm running out of space. Let me write this in red, 220. All right, I'm going to erase this work real quick because I'm going to go ahead and have to do this again. Because in order to find the perimeter of a triangle, we need to know all 3 sides. All right, so now we already have a ratio of 50 over 275. We know we have that one. And now we're going to solve for the smallest side, and that corresponds with 24, so it'll be 24 over S. All right, once again, this 50 over 275, we know reduces to 2 over 11. We are then going to cross multiply. This will give me 2S is equal to 220 plus 44, so 264, I believe. We divide by 2, and S is equal to 132. And this will be 132. All right, so now we will go ahead and we will erase this S, and we will put 132 here. I'll put this in blue, 132. All right, now we know all the sides of the triangles, so we're going to go ahead and solve for the perimeter. We just need to add all them up. So it will then be 220 plus 275 plus 132. This will give me 495 plus 132, and this will give me 627. So it'll be 627 units is the perimeter of triangle TUV. All right, let's move on to the next question now. All right, it says the foot of a ladder is 1.2 meters from a fence that is 1.8 meters high. So I'm going to draw the fence in blue. So here's our fence. And it says that the fence is 1.8 meters high. And then we have a ladder. So let me just go ahead and let me change colors. Let's do brown for a ladder. All right, and it says a foot of a ladder is 1.2 meters from the fence. So I'm just going to put 1.2 for right now. I'm not going to draw the ladder just yet because we don't really know how it's going to go. It says the ladder touches the fence and rests against a building that is behind the fence. So I know that this ladder is going to go like this. So here's our ladder. I'm going to draw it like this. You can tell it's a ladder. And it touches the fence, or rests on the fence, and touches a building that's behind it. So let's just say that here's our building. All right? And it says that the building is 1.8 meters behind the fence. So here, let's use green. Let's just say there's grass in between this fence and this building. All right? And it says that this is 1.8 meters behind the fence. So it says how high up the wall is it? So this is what we're trying to solve for. This is going to create two different triangles. We have this triangle here that is being created, and I'm going to draw this out. And we have 1.8 and 1.2. And then we have this triangle here where the ladder touches the wall. So we have the two triangles being formed with that ladder, one with the fence and one with the wall. Right? We don't know the height of the wall, but what we do know is this side is equal to 3. Right? Because we would add up the foot of the ladder is 3 meters from that building, from the wall. So now if we're going to go ahead and try and solve for x, well, the height of the fence and the height of the wall correspond, so 1.8 over x. How far the foot of the ladder is from the fence will correspond with how far the foot of the ladder is from the building, so 1.2 over 3. Right? We can reduce this if we wanted to, or we can go ahead and cross multiply. It'll be your call. I'm just going to go ahead and cross multiply. So this is going to be 1.2x is equal to 3 times 1.8. Let's see, this would be 5.4. We divide this by 1.2. Right, so x is then equal to, this will be 6 goes into 0.6 goes into this 9 times, 0.6 goes into this twice. So you can say 9 over 2, or 4 1/2, or 4.5. Right? Any one of these would be acceptable as an answer. And this is what I was meaning before. If you have any of these left as a fraction, just go ahead and rewrite this as an improper fraction, mixed number, or a decimal. Any of those will be acceptable on your test. All right, our last question, and we are done. All right, for 13, it says, in the diagram shown, a metal support brace is added to stabilize a metal triangle. So here's the support brace. The brace is parallel to the foot of the 18-foot base of the triangle and divides the left side into a 4-foot and 6-foot section. What is the length of the metal support brace? So here we have these two triangles, and we know that they're going to be similar because they share this angle. And when they're parallel, it also means that these angles are going to be equal, and these angles will be equal. But we have these two different triangles. Right? We have this one here where we have 4. We don't know the length of the metal brace, and then we have the full triangle that we're trying to stabilize. Right? This side is equal to both of these added together, so that will be 10. And this is 18. Now we're just going to go ahead and create our proportion. So x corresponds with 18. So x over 18 is equal to, and 4 corresponds with 10. So 4 over 10. Right, I'm going to go ahead and reduce this fraction. So x over 18 is equal to 2 over 5. We cross multiply. This will give me 5x is equal to 36. We divide by 5, and x is then equal to 36 over 5, or 7 1/5, or 7.2, right? Any and all of those would be acceptable. And that is it for the one thing that we would have to do for this one is x represents the length of the support brace. All right, and that is it for all of the videos for this year.